All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to No Final Bell, episode 27. And to start off, here we'll talk about some NWA and Impact talk.
Yeah. So this week there wasn't a lot to really talk about and digest with NWA, but regardless, we are here to talk about NWA and Impact Wrestling. First up on NWA, the British invasion of Nick Aldis and Doug Williams beat the team of Jaden Roller and Fable Jake. Not too, you know, not too fond, not too you know, don't know a lot about Fable Jake and Jaden Roller other than they're kind of just there. Next, we have Tootie Lynn versus Marty Bell. Tootie Lynn beats Marty Bell. So, the interesting thing to note about that is that Kylie Ray has a victory over Allison Kay, and now Tootie Lynn has a victory over Marty Bell. So, who's to say that Tootie Lynn and Kylie Ray, uh, their team name is the Smiling Dragons. Who's to say Tootie Lynn and Kylie Ray could not get an opportunity at those NWA Women's World Tag Team titles and the Hex eventually? So we had a match between Genocide and Natalia Markova, which ended in a double countout, which kind of a throwaway, if you ask me, throwaway result of a match. But regardless, then we had Melina and Christy James. Melina beats Christy James. And so before his match at NWA Power Trip against Trevor Murdoch for the NWA World Championship, Matt Cardona beats Victor Benjamin. And then in our main event of this week, we had the finals of Team War between Strictly Business of Chris Adonis and Tom Latimer and El Rudo, Sam Adonis, versus The End and Rodney Mack. But Strictly Business and El Rudo won, so they win Team War and they win $30,000. That is NWA this week. Now we get on to Impact. And Moose opens the show. He wants to be acknowledged as a world champion, but not if Heath has anything to say about it. He wants to challenge Moose for the world title, and he will get that opportunity at Sacrifice this Saturday on Impact Plus.
You know, what I find hilarious about Moose wanting to be acknowledged, as a world champion, I want to know how much of Moose has been watching WWE.
He's been teasing it for a long time, even as far back as the Royal Rumble, because the whole thing came out that, oh yeah, Mickie James, Impact Knockouts World Champion Mickie James is going to be going into the Royal Rumble. Speculation was high that like more people from Impact Wrestling could be entering the Royal Rumble as a surprise. And many people thought that Moose would be in the Royal Rumble or somebody else.
Because, he wants to be acknowledged, but so does Roman Reigns wants to get acknowledged as the Universal Champion. So that's why it's like, wait, how much of, this is just, it's kind of infringement, like, not super, copyright infringement, it's just, it's, what is it,
Gimmick infringement.
Gimmick infringement, but two different companies that have absolutely no connection to each other. But
it doesn't matter. Gimmick infringement is gimmick infringement, regardless of what company you're in, regardless of what your status is.
And then he also claims he wants to be the best world champion in professional wrestling.
Well, no. See, he already is claiming that he is the greatest champion in all of professional wrestling.
Which I don't think is true at all, but that's just me. Moose, you're good and everything, but don't claim that you're the best champion in all professional wrestling when you're clearly not.
Well, regardless, so yes, Heath and Moose has been made official for Sacrifice with the World Championship on the line. Um, but also to take note, something to take note of is that Moose is also going to be defending his Impact World Championship at an independent wrestling event. He's going to be at, I believe it is Warrior Wrestling,
Something like that.
or either way, Moose has a pretty big weekend lined up for him this week. Um, Also announced for Sacrifice, Eddie Edwards and Rhino. So that's a big match. Then we get to some in ring action. Matt Cardona and Jordan Grace have essentially a no disqualifications match with uh, digital media esque like weapons introduced. Like there were keyboards, there was a mouse involved in the match, there were old cell phones in the match. But ultimately,
Yeah,
no matter what was thrown at Matt Cardona from Jordan Grace, as well as what Matt Cardona threw to Jordan Grace, it was not enough for Jordan Grace to reclaim her championship. So Matt Cardona retains the digital media, his digital media world championship, as he would like it to be called. So Matt Cardona retained, but also announced for Sacrifice. Basically, this week's episode of Impact was just announcing a bunch of matches for Sacrifice, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But another match made official for Sacrifice: the Influence versus the Inspiration for the Knockout Tag Team Championships, which was actually supposed to happen at Hard to Kill, but unfortunately, the Inspiration could not make it to that show. So they're making up for it. Impact is making up for it by giving us this match at Sacrifice on Impact Plus. And don't talk to Scott Steiner about Sacrifice.
yeah, please don't. No,
On,
I
on
was gonna talk about the whole digital media championship. It's kind of weird, and I was talking to Marty about this off the show, and I thought I'd bring it to everybody's attention here on No Final Bell. It just seems weird that literally it's only two people that are going after that championship right now. It's literally only just been Jordan Grace and Matt Cardona. If you really want to get that championship off the ground and making it a like a secondary title for both women and men in general, you gotta have more people going after the championship to get it off of the brand, not just Jordan Grace and Matt Cardona.
well, here's the
Because
thing.
I get it, you got the X Division championship, and that's
Yeah.
been their main secondary title to lead into the world title, and it's been like that for years, ever since the company came about. Now, the thing is yeah, it's cool to have a digital media championship. It makes, a little bit more sense in the way that things are going in the future. But I get it. Yeah, it's great that Mark Cardona is the digital media champion, as he was the internet champion when he was the long, you know, the true Long Island story there on YouTube.
Yeah, back when it was this instead of this.
But let me tell you something. You can't really have a championship like that if you're just going to literally have two competitors going after each other whole time.
Well, to be fair, when the Digital Media Championship first came into the fray, there were multiple challengers like vying to win that championship from Jordan Grace, and even then, the belt was decided in a six-way match. So,
Yeah, but I'm
but
talking about more so
yeah, as of
recently.
late, they haven't really been focusing too heavily on that championship. It has literally just been Jordan Grace and Matt Cardona, which, yeah, and that's the problem. Like, and I was even talking to Jason off camera about this. That's been Impact's major problem with secondary championships that aren't the X Division championship. they capitalize on the momentum of this secondary championship, and then the second they're riding a high with it, it just falls flat.
Yeah, it definitely
So,
does.
um, but so onto the match for. So I mentioned on last week's episode where we were going over the results of what was it? No Surrender, and how there was going to be a tag team match between Ace Austin and Speedball Mike Bailey versus Jake Something and Trey Miguel that actually happened on BTI, in which Ace Austin and Speedball Mike Bailey beat Jake Something and Trey Miguel. But however, Jake Something was disappointed in the result of the tag team match. However, he still has his sights set on the X Division title and says that Trey Miguel should fear him. And quite frankly, I think Jake Something was really proving that he is something, no pun intended, to be like, he's willing to show something to Trey Miguel, and that, like, you know, in the backstage segment, Jake Something was saying, like, I'm twice your size, dude. Like, you should fear me. And Jake Something has a point. Like, he is much bigger than Trey Miguel. So, who's to say that Jake Something couldn't be the uh, next guy in line and the next, like, shoehorned guy to lead the X Division? And I even said it here. I'm pretty sure I've said it here, but if not, then I'll be the first to say it here. What I think is going to happen, Jake Something eventually wins the X Division Championship. Maybe not now, because Trey Miguel is basically holding the X Division Championship right now, and he's like carrying the X Division right now as the champion because his mother recently passed away. So, but maybe you build a long story between Jake Something and Trey Miguel that eventually leads to Jake Something beating, let's say the match happened at Rebellion. Let's just hypothetically say the match happened at Rebellion. Jake Something versus Trey Miguel. It's perfect because literally Rebellion, I believe, is in the next month or so. You have Trey Miguel hold it for about another month because I believe he won the championship at Hard to Kill, I believe. If not Hard to Kill, it was before Hard to Kill. So, no, it was no. That's right. It was at Bound for Glory because Bound for Glory was basically the stage where Josh Alexander relinquished the X Division title because he was cashing in option C on Christian Cage at the time. So Trey Miguel has held the championship since Bound for Glory, back in, I believe, October of 2021. So Trey Miguel has held the championship for a good amount of time. Who's to say that come April, come Rebellion, that's when Jake Something gets his opportunity at the X Division Championship? He's already earned it in that fatal four-way match at No Surrender. He's already earned it. Who's to say Jake Something dethrones Trey Miguel, holds the X Division title for a little bit of time, and then says, Moose or whoever is the world champion at that time, I'm cashing in option C, and becomes world champion.
Hmm.
Who's to say it couldn't happen?
Could happen.
Um, so getting back on track, we have Bhupinder Gujar, the new Indian superstar that's in Impact Wrestling. He beats John Skyler, and so after the match, as Brian Myers was on commentary, W. Morrissey comes down. He wants to beat up Brian Myers, But Myers retreats, and instead, somebody was going through a table regardless. It ends up being John Skyler. Morrissey drives John Skyler through a table with a power bomb. And so then we have Steve Maclin talking about Eddie Edwards, questioning his loyalty when in fact it was Eddie Edwards that his loyalty should have been questioned. So next week, Steve Maclin wants Eddie Edwards. Steve Maclin wants Eddie Edwards next week. Then we had the Champ Challenge of Deonna Purrazzo. And it's interesting to note for this week's Champ Challenge that since this week, nobody has challenged Deonna Purrazzo for her AAA Reina de Reinas championship. However, this week, Lady Frost was the first to challenge Deonna Purrazzo for the AAA Reina de Reinas championship, but unfortunately lost, as I kind of expected. So Deonna Purrazzo retained, and who shows up after the match to steal Lady Frost's spotlight but Giselle Shaw? Giselle Shaw and Lady Frost have that rivalry, and it is still ongoing. Then we cut backstage. Bullet Club and BBD are talking. BBD is like, "Oh, Good Brothers, we had a business thing going on. You betrayed that as soon as you went back with Bullet Club." Jay White is like, "Well, any business decision you made beforehand is now out the window. Now you got like any business decision that you make with them has to go through me." And that prompts Gorillas of Destiny to come down and essentially beat up Bullet Club because they are pretty pissed off at the fact that they've been kicked out of Bullet Club. They've been kicked out to let Good Brothers back in. And so next week we actually have a match that is Bullet Club versus BBD and GOD. So that'll be an interesting one to see next week. But more in-ring action. Jonah beats Zicky Dice. Not really much to say about that. Poor Zicky Dice. Never really could catch a break in Impact or even really NWA. Wherever he went, he never could really catch a break. But interesting to note, next week, Jonah versus Johnny Swinger. But at Sacrifice this Saturday, Jonah versus the newest addition to Impact Wrestling, a member of Honor No More, PCO. There's going to be a Haas fight. So, also announced for next week, it is going to be Tasha Steele versus Chelsea Green. The winner of that match faces Mickie James for the Knockouts title at Sacrifice. And so I know that I said about Trey Miguel and Jake something that they should push it back until like Rebellion, but unfortunately this match is going to be happening for the X Division title at Sacrifice. As well as at Sacrifice, we have one that you should definitely be keeping an eye on. Jay White versus Alex Shelley. That ought to be a great match at Sacrifice. Also announced for Sacrifice is the Good Brothers versus Violent by Design for the Impact Tag Team titles. And then we get our list of matches announced for next week. We also have Madison Rayne versus Cassie Lee announced for next week. Then we get to our main event. Honor No More in a six-man tag. It is Kenny King and the OGK of Mike Bennett and Matt Taven versus Rich Swann, Willie Mack, and Chris Sabin. Honor No More beats Rich Swann, Willie Mack, and Chris Sabin, but after the match, representing Honor No More, Eddie Edwards will come down to explain his actions. Why, Eddie? Why did you betray Impact? Like, what is the reason? Eddie Edwards explains that he betrayed Impact to expose the corruption that is within the company. Why he's been held back. Why he's been... And Also, I did not have this written down, but his wife even questioned his loyalty and why he did what he did. And Eddie basically saying like, Lish, you gotta come see, you gotta realize, like, there's a reason behind what I did. Something tells me that over time, Alicia Edwards will join her husband and Honor No More and essentially turn heel. Something tells me Alicia Edwards could be turning heel at some point and aligning herself with Honor No More.
It could very well happen. All right, we are going to the AEW Dynamite and Rampage side of things as the sign of the week that I saw. Speaking of Bullet Club, the Bullshit Club
Yeah.
is better than the Bullet Club. That is to be determined.
I mean, I don't know what bullshit club he's been to, but maybe he's talking about the bullshit club that was in WWE, but
Who knows?
who knows?
But we start off with the tag team battle royal, the first one, not the casino battle royal that will be happening later tonight. We are talking about the tag team battle royal. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got our first tag team that will join Jurassic Express for the trios tag team title match. Kyle O'Reilly helps get Red Dragon to Revolution for the tag titles after eliminating John Silver and Matt Jackson. Now the big question is, who will be the third team? I'm thinking it's going to be the Young Bucks. It makes the most sense.
Bucks, yeah.
And I'm going to say here on this channel before probably anybody else will, you're going to see a Red Dragon versus Young Bucks feud. Whether that's for the tag team titles or not, it's going to be happening. And don't be shocked if Kenny Omega comes back and it leads to something at Double or Nothing, which I thought was going to be in Daily's place. I was wrong. And I'll be the first one to admit that I was wrong. And it's actually going to be in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena.
Yes. Double or Nothing back in Las Vegas.
Yes.
You'll love to see it. It's literally where the company started. Las Vegas, Nevada, the first AEW event, Double or Nothing, 2019, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Right. Well, now Double or Nothing will be back in Las Vegas after a 2-year stint away.
3 years later, back in Las Vegas.
But I will say this now, that Young Bucks and Red Dragon are not seeing eye to eye, and Adam Cole is in between both. Who is he really going to team himself with? Is he going to follow the footsteps with his brother and with the Young Bucks, or will he follow Red Dragon, the team he's been with the longest?
Yeah, where does his allegiance lie?
Exactly, where does it lie? We need to know this and know it soon. But after the match, Adam Hangman Page comes out after the match to beat down on Red Dragon, and then Adam
Who's ready for story time with
comes
Adam Page, baby?
To get beat down, but gets saved. And John Silver helps out Page and Kyle in the ring to get the buckshot lariat. So, which is prompting a match later tonight. It will be Adam Hangman Page in the Dark Order versus Adam Cole and Red Dragon.
Yeah. The Undisputed Era.
So we are definitely going to be seeing that match, which I kind of thought that it was going to lead to something like that. Hence why the actions of what transpired on Dynamite transpired. Now we are going to get that match later tonight in Daily's place. Again, I mean, apparently that is always their...
That's the home of AEW, Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah, well,
where the company started.
It's going to be, which is weird because Dynamite is going to be in Jacksonville. Rampage is going to be in Orlando. So we're actually going to be getting a Rampage that's a live Rampage for once.
Could be.
But as we continue forward, then we get story time with Adam Hangman Page. Yeah. And it's decided the team back up, and then Adam Page says they decided to team up back up with his friends to go after the top prize and coming closer and closer to being 6 foot down the ground. Who could we see win this match between Adam Cole and Adam Hangman Page?
It's tough for me because I would love to see Adam Cole win it, but at the same time, it's too soon for Hangman to lose.
The only thing I can see is Adam Cole winning, and it still leads into the whole storyline with Red Dragon and Adam Cole versus Young Bucks. And
Very possible.
it's going to be a returning Kenny Omega. It's going to make the most sense. It makes sense for storyline, and I think it makes sense to have Red Dragon versus Young Bucks for the tag team titles or something like that, and then having Adam Hangman Page or having Kenny Omega go up against Adam Cole at Double or Nothing. Makes the most sense. Don't be shocked if it happens. And if it does happen, you heard it here first. But nobody wants to watch this channel. I don't know. Apparently I speak bullshit out of my mouth. But I speak facts. But going forward, we get an emotional, a very different side to MJF. A very emotional MJF.
Yeah.
So he comes out and says the only reason he wakes up every day is because of professional wrestling.
Don't we all?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, but yes, I do like to wake up and watch some good old professional wrestling in AEW. But said he wanted to be just like CM Punk when he was, coming up into liking professional wrestling, and said, yeah, well, CM Punk said it was just a normal Friday, but to me, I was getting bullied and picked on, but as soon as I got to meet CM Punk, it kind of lit a fire in me and made me who I am today, and not quit and join the football team and becoming a somebody. Well, he was actually able to become a somebody, but then because of CM Punk leaving 7 years ago, before coming back, he decided to give up on football or give up on professional wrestling and join football before he decided, all right, I'm going to go back into professional wrestling. So, and says he wanted to be the best in the world in spite of CM Punk, which I hate to say it right now. He's showcasing that he is better than CM Punk because he beat him twice in one night. But I said it here on this channel before that I could see CM Punk losing to MJF at the pay-per-view in spite of losing twice in his hometown. But didn't want to leave anyone high and dry, unlike CM Punk. Feels like he got a big slap in the face by CM Punk when he left, because that was his hero, his icon, somebody he looked up to and wanted to live that kind of lifestyle and be just like CM Punk, but then got mad because CM Punk left when he needed him the most.
Yeah.
It will not quit no matter what. Which, honestly, right now, MJF has not quit no matter what. Yes, he has lost many matches, but he's also won quite a lot of matches in AEW. And who's to say that eventually he's going to be a champion in AEW sooner than later? But then CM Punk comes down and asks if what he said was true, and actually brings a tear to MJF's face and heads out of the ring. There's a lot more emotion and truth to probably what MJF is saying than we all realize.
Yeah.
This could very well be real life where he did live up to what CM Punk was doing, and it was a big shock to everybody when CM Punk just abruptly left in 2014. And I get it, you know. It was a thorn in his side, a cancer that he had to get rid of, so then he could be normal again, not have to be doing exactly what WWE wanted him to be. He wanted to be his own person. He had to leave. So, you know, there's a lot of the matches that are going on that are bringing some real life situations at hand. Of course, we'll talk about the one a little bit later, but this one, you know, it's kind of making MGF look a little weak because it's like, are you a wrestler or are you like a fan turned wrestler? Now you're like using that whole thing of like you were sad that CM Punk betrayed all of us, using that as his whole storyline heading into this match. That's just like it's almost making like MGF look like he's the face and CM Punk the heel.
Yeah,
That's kind of
flipping the
weird.
script in a sense.
Yeah, and it kind of is. It's just like whoa, like you almost feel for MGF and you kind of feel like he should win over CM Punk. And then CM Punk mostly came back to wrestle and put the new guys over. So even though he's only lost one match and it's against MJF. But hey, I mean, honestly, I think this is going to be a good match. And honestly, as much as I would love to see CM Punk win and get that future title opportunity, I almost think that it's going to be maybe MGF again because there's more upside with MGF right now than there is CM Punk.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what happens.
Exactly. So going forward, Penta changes to
Yes.
Penta Oscuro, which is Penta Evil in
Pentagon
Spanish.
Dark.
It's Pentagon Dark.
And I called it. He was gonna revert back to Pentagon Dark. I
Wearing
called it.
wearing all black. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is the debut. It is the year of the debuts in 2022. We got another one, another former WWE guy. This time,
Buddy Matthews.
Buddy Matthews has made his AEW
He
debut
is all elite.
and joins up with the House of Black and starts beating down Penta and stares down Malachi after he gives him the chair.
You
But then,
thought that Buddy Matthews was gonna rekindle his hatred, his feud with Malachi Black that started in WWE, but no.
but eventually he stomps Penta's face into the chair. Now, could we see the House of Black against the Death Triangle in a six-man tag team match when Rey Fenix comes back? I know exactly that was the plan. If Rey Fenix was not hurt, that was eventually the plan for Revolution was to have the House of Black versus Death Triangle at Revolution.
Yeah.
Hence why they made a switch, and now it's a Tornado Trios tag team match between the AHFO and Sting, Darby, and Sammy Guevara. I don't know how I feel about this, only because now you're like, well, Sammy's the TNT champion, and now he doesn't have an opponent.
Right.
Hence, they kind of had to throw a curveball. What eventually was supposed to happen, I think, was Sammy was supposed to defend the championship against Andrade at Revolution. But because Rey Fenix was hurt and dislocated his elbow, they had to change the outcome. Hence why the Andrade versus Sammy match was on Rampage, not at Revolution. And hence why you got the tag team match that you got, even though it made absolutely no sense to just put it out there. But Ray, it would be nice to see you actually stay healthy, not get hurt. I know it wasn't entirely your fault to dislocate your elbow like you
Accidents
did,
happen.
but please, for the love of God, stay healthy because there's a tag team, the six-man tag team match that we should be getting at Revolution that we're possibly just gonna get on a Dynamite, which is kind of gonna throw the match just totally out of proportion, but it is what it is. So yes, we are going to see the six-man tag team match because it was supposed to be the plan, but eventually we're going to be getting it because I think Rey Fenix, I think he's out for another couple weeks with the injury, should be coming back soon. Um,
Well,
so
I
I think
mean,
it's
he
going to
did have
happen after.
surgery on it,
So
so
I really do think it's going to happen after Revolution. Even though I think they should build it towards Double or Nothing, it would make a little bit more sense. Be a great match to see at Double or Nothing in Las Vegas. So definitely stay tuned and see what's going to happen. So going forward, we got a little chatter between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, where Thunder Rosa wants Britt to bring her friends and pen the contract signing. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So we're going to go to the next story. The big story. A big old shoot promo. Starting off with saying Eddie Kingston is not a sports entertainer and rather not talk. He rather not talk, but wants to fight Chris Jericho. Uh, Chris Jericho says, "I don't want to fight you. I want to talk to you, like give you this entertainment, but it's going to be actual entertainment." And Eddie ends up saying, "Well, if you're going to say that, there's
there's WWE a few blocks down the road in Stamford.
because they were in Connecticut, Bridgeport, Connecticut." Well, and then Chris Jericho says, "Okay, I follow the independent scene, and you know everybody knew who you were." Well, I didn't know who the hell Eddie Kingston was.
When I heard Eddie, I thought it was Eddie Edwards.
And then he says, "Well, I thought you look like a jobber." Which, and then Eddie asks, "What's a baby face?" I mean, I kind of find it funny because, yeah, what truly is a baby face nowadays? Because sometimes when you turn to be a heel, you get cheer, but when you're trying to force down to be a face, then that's when you get booed. So
Well,
that's a good question. What is a baby face nowadays? Because
see,
we
that's the
truly
thing
don't
too.
know.
See, that's the thing too. The fans will boo and cheer who they want to boo and cheer at this point. There's really no definitive meaning of heel and babyface.
And then Chris says he doesn't give a shit about him. I mean, I don't think a lot of people really give a shit about Eddie Kingston, even though they were backing him a lot during it. And says that he would never be at Chris's level, and says he was main of. Well, I hate to say it, Eddie. Yeah, you're probably not going to be on Chris's level anytime soon. He
Oh
is
no.
multiple time Triple Crown um, in WWE. He has won countless, world titles, countless intercontinental titles, countless tag team titles, and also
Technically, he's a 10-time Intercontinental Champion if you even count the New Japan Intercontinental Championship. Because he's held 9 WWE Intercontinental Championships and 1 IWGP Intercontinental Championship. So he's technically, if you count both, he's held 10.
and then Eddie's like the only, and then Chris was like, well, while you were, you know, doing as what you were doing in the independent scene, I was main eventing, you know, you made it to the big leagues at 38. I made it to the big leagues when I was 22 years old. By the time I was 38, I was already main eventing pay-per-views and winning countless world titles. Well, you were in the independent scene basically doing nothing. And then, which prompts Eddie Kingston to say, well, the only reason you were main eventing because I wasn't there. Which is interesting. And then says he will do things the way he wants to. Which Eddie Kingston so far in AEW pretty much
That's
has been
pretty
doing.
much what he's always done for the entirety of his career. He stayed true to himself.
And says he will, yeah, wants to, and he also wants to fight at the pay per view, which is like, well, you want to fight at the pay per view? You got the match. And then Chris says that Eddie can't beat the big one, and says that he is the big one. If you can beat me, If Eddie Kingston beats Chris Jericho, he'll get his respect and wants the badass Chris Jericho, which Chris Jericho does say you're going to get that Chris Jericho, but sometimes you better you better think about what you're wishing for, because I hate to say it, when you get that badass Chris Jericho, you're going to get a brutal fight, and I think this is going to be an all-out dog fight. I think you're going to see actual fists. I think they're going to shoot fight each other almost, in a sense.
Well, if that's the case, Jericho has never lost a shoot fight. So Eddie Kingston better be prepared, is all I'm going to say.
Exactly. So, we actually go into our next match. Ricky Starks beats number 10 of the Dark Order, and we'll be going to the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Didn't we see you in there before, Ricky Starks? You ain't gonna win it. You're the FTW world champion for a reason, even though I think it's a stupid ass title. It's very interesting to see who could honestly win it. I think it's going to be Keith Lee that wins the Face of the Revolution ladder match. We'll go a little bit forward with that. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Anyway, Jade Cargill beats the Bunny to retain her TBS champion and asks who next, and then the crowd finally said,
The crowd chanted
Goldberg.
Which I
which
thought was funny.
Kind of made her laugh a little bit. And ask who's next. Well, Ty Conti comes out, and we will be seeing Jade Cargill put her TBS championship, her 28-0 undefeated record, on the line against Ty Conti for the TBS championship. Yeah. I hate to say it, Ty Conti, you're going to be joining that 29-0 club, because you ain't winning against Jade Cargill. I don't think you're strong enough to be the TBS champion as of right now. I could be wrong. I mean, I've been wrong on here before.
The way that she's marketing the match is that she's going to become the TBS champ. So.
Exactly, but going forward, there is big news, and I mean big news, as Cesaro is now a free agent after letting his contract expire. WWE and Cesaro, we're trying to come to terms on a long-term contract extension, which prompted Cesaro to say, nope, that's not happening. If you're not going to value me as a big star, I'm very much going to go elsewhere. Which leads to Tony Khan with a big announcement later tonight.
Something tells me
speculations that it will be Cesaro that will be joining the All Elite brand.
Claudio Castagnoli is All Elite.
We don't know that exactly. There's no saying that that's going to happen, but we do know that he's no longer with WWE after 10 years, which I think is insane. He had a great run. He's won countless tag team titles. He's a former United States champion. I think a former Intercontinental champion as well, but I could be wrong.
Not that I know.
For all I know, that he won countless tag team titles and the U.S. title. He has never won a world title in his 10 years there, which I think is sad, because if you look at his build, he had every top star material.
He had everything to be a solid world champion, but WWE.
And this is where I say, WWE, you're messing up. You're letting most of that talent that could have been big stars walk away, because you rather have Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre as your big stars. You rather build around 4 top main stars instead of building talent that could really ride you, high, and fans like. But no. It's kind of getting sad. It really is. And it wouldn't shock me if eventually Austin Theory gets pushed into that main event picture, because he's literally kissing up and brown-nosing Mr. McMahon's ass. Oh, wait, did I say that out loud? Yes, I think I fucking did. But speaking of that, Jeff Hardy has confirmed.
Well, indirectly, but
has indirectly confirmed that he's going to AEW. Now the question is that true? Will we see Jeff Hardy
I think
in
it's pretty obvious
AEW?
that it's true. I think it's pretty obvious that it's true, even though he doesn't want to outright he. And it's funny because I saw something like he's trying to blast that person on YouTube for saying that. He's like, I never confirmed that. Yeah, you kind of did, Jeff.
Let me tell you something. When this video goes up, it is March 1st as we are recording this. When this video comes up, it will be March 2nd. His contract, his no-compete clause, is done March 9th. Could we see him at the Revolution or at Dynamite, the Dynamite after Revolution, after the fallout of Revolution? Could we see another debut, ladies and gentlemen? Could we see Jeff Hardy on the March 9th edition of AEW Dynamite? If not Dynamite, what about Rampage? Even
Very
though
possible.
I honestly think it's going to happen. And who better to have than Jeff Hardy? He's like, well, man, my non-compete clause is done and over with. I'm about to team back up with my brother, Matt. And really show Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn that we're the true tag team around here. Yes, that's my Jeff Hardy impression. I don't know if you want to rate that very high, but let me tell you something. Jeff Hardy, I really do think we are going to get 2 back-to-back debuts 2 weeks in a row. We're going to get Cesaro later tonight, and then next week on March 9th edition of Dynamite, we will see Jeff Hardy after his non-compete clause is done and over with.
Well, let me cut you off real quick and say that I think that there's not going to be one surprise tonight, but 2, or maybe even 3 surprises in which I'm seriously sticking to my word on that. The Casino Tag Team Royale is later tonight, and I seriously think that for the Joker in the Casino Tag Team Royale, it's gonna be the Briscoes.
See, if Jeff Hardy wasn't still under his non-compete clause, I could honestly have seen it as the Hardys as the
The Joker
the
tag team.
Joker winning, going to Revolution and winning the AEW tag team titles. But of course, that's not going to happen because Jeff is still under that non-compete clause until the 9th of March, which honestly sucks but again, he could lead a Double or Nothing, the Young Bucks, which I could honestly see them winning the tag team titles. I really do think at Double or Nothing in Las Vegas, you're going to see the Young Bucks versus the Hardys for the AEW World Tag Team titles. And unfortunately, I really do think that the Young Bucks are going to be transitional champions.
Well, here's the thing, too. Do we really need to see another Young Bucks AEW tag team title run?
That's why I say it's going to be a transitional. It's going to be a transitional. They're going to be transitional champions to have the Hardys win the tag team titles at Double or Nothing. It would make the most sense.
Well, okay, but you don't need it to be the Young Bucks as the champions to take the fall from the Hardys.
True, but
in my opinion,
we'll happen to see. But I just thought I'd added those 2 things that Cesaro and Jeff Hardy are very close to being in AEW, and who's to say that they're not going to be debuting in back-to-back weeks in Dynamite? So we'll see. But we get to our main event. Bryan Danielson beats Daniel Garcia in a very back-and-forth match, not going to lie. We actually got to see a very violent side of Daniel Garcia, which prompted Bryan Danielson to say, was he violent enough? I honestly think he was. I think he was violent enough, or there were some moments where he was hard-hitting Bryan Danielson in that match. Bryan Danielson brings the best out of people.
Yes, he does.
And
don't underestimate Daniel Garcia.
Then he gets beaten down by 2.0, and Jon Moxley comes out to save Danielson. and we get to see Moxley and Danielson fight alongside with each other, but
They're still gonna
will we
shed blood.
see blood between the two? I thought it would have prompted, some kind of match where dude had to bleed together, but I think it's going to be a brutal match anyway. I think you're going to see blood fall, and I don't know who's going to be a decisive winner, if not a time limit draw. But first, John Moxley only said the only reason they can tag together is if they bleed together. So I don't see a real true winner here, but I think you're going to see Bryan Danielson and John Moxley team together eventually, which kind of makes me wonder, really, you've lost ideas with Bryan Danielson and John Moxley already? It's kind of sad.
Yeah,
It really is. But it is what it is.
I
I
mean they're
guess,
doing what they can with Moxley and Danielson. There's really not a lot you can do with them. I mean Danielson maybe like Moxley maybe there's not a lot much left to do with them, but Danielson you could literally build an entire program around like Bryan Danielson getting back in that title chase.
yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, we'll happen to see what happens with all that. Of course, they've swerved us in a passive
Yeah,
good direction. Like, I didn't think that they were even gonna be even wanting to tag together. I thought that, I kind of figured they were gonna go up against each other at Revolution, but I wasn't too keen on if they was gonna happen or not. But looks like we're gonna get that match at Revolution, and then have to see what's gonna go on. I will say Revolution's shining up to be a really good pay per view. Not exactly better than probably the pay per views of the past, but I still think that it's going to be a really great Sunday night. I'm
yeah.
looking forward to it.
I mean, either way, there's a whole big weekend of wrestling with Sacrifice on Saturday and then Revolution on Sunday.
Right. So, Sammy, we start off the night with Rampage with the TNT Championship match. Sammy Guevara beats Andrade El Idolo to retain his TNT Championship, and
Did you
then
really expect anything like? Did you really expect
this is
the
why
opposite result?
it sucks that this match had to be on Rampage. And I was saying it before. I really think that it would have been a match that would have made a lot more sense to be on at Revolution. Of course, now they had to throw us a change of direction because
Yeah,
of everything that happened. So, which this is the reason why it's prompting that Tornado Trios tag team match because Matt Hardy beats down Sammy, and then Darby saves him, and Sting comes down to beat down Isaiah Cassidy. Darwin gives him the coffin drop, will which does lead into the trios, the first ever Tornado Trios tag team match, which is interesting because then you're going to get all six men in the ring at the same
yeah.
time.
Usually we've seen Tornado tag team matches with four competitors. This is really the first time that I've seen where there's six competitors in the ring at the same
This is
time.
where Tony Khan is a genius in putting
Yes.
together matches you never have seen before, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Exactly.
This is how
Yeah.
you keep professional wrestling fresh. Is
Yes.
having different new matches that you've never really seen before. And I tell you, this is what is keeping AEW alive. You're seeing these matches before. I bet you Vince McMahon's like, that seems stupid. But yet, Tony Khan, is beating you out. He even beat Raw a couple of different times before.
Yeah.
AEW is not a joke. It's literally the new company that people want to go to right now.
Yeah. That's
Nobody wants to go to WWE anymore. They want to go to
yeah.
AEW.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about it too. In the landscape of professional wrestling in 2022, there's many different options in terms
Exactly.
of like where you want to go. Do you want to go to AEW? Do you want to go to Impact? Do you want to go to NWA? Do you want
Right.
to go to MLW? Do you want to go to GCW? Do you want to go to New Japan? All Japan? Fucking Dragon Gate, Pro Wrestling Noah. Like, there's
Right.
many different options.
Well, going forward, which I'm honestly shocked that this is not even heading into a match at Revolution, but honestly, I'm kind of glad it's not. QT Marshall comes out and wants Hook to thank him like a man for basically making him the success that he is now.
Although it's not official for Revolution, who's to say that they couldn't just make it a match for Revolution? Like, let Hook have his first pay per view match. But at the same time, I think they're slowly building up Hook to eventually, like, make it on Dynamite, eventually make it to the pay per views, eventually win a championship. Like,
And then he comes out to take out the factory one by
yeah,
one. QT, you're a little bitch. If you gotta send your little goons to attack Hook and you can't do it yourself, then you're a little bitch.
yep.
And Hook is still looking dominant as ever and just beat, friggin' clotheslines and all the other stuff to them like it's nothing. But Dan Lambert, and we get to see Dan Lambert, and of course he talks about Tony Khan, and is promising Scorpio Sky that he will get the TNT title match. Will happen. Oh yeah, speaking of that too, Tony Khan did promise Scorpio Sky a shot to go into the Face of the Revolution ladder match, the same one that he won a year ago.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad.
So it wouldn't have made much sense for Scorpio to be back in the Face of the Revolution ladder match. He grabbed that brass ring last year, couldn't capitalize on it.
I think he'll get a TNT title opportunity against Sammy Guevara, but right now he's kind of the back of the line because whoever wins the brass ring will get that title opportunity against Sammy Guevara, and I'm really thinking it's going to be Keith Lee, unless it's somebody else. It could very well be Johnny Gargano.
No. See, here. Have Claudio Castagnoli be the major announcement. Have him be the announcement. Have him announce that he's going to be in the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Have him win. Have him grab that brass ring. Have him win an AEW World Championship, because that right there is what WWE failed to do from the get-go.
Yeah, I know. I agree. And it could very well happen.
It writes itself. Claudio Castagnoli grabs the brass ring and becomes a world champion. It writes itself.
And then I think once whoever wins that and wins the TNT Championship the first competitor in line, I think, is going to be Scorpio Sky. It makes a little bit of sense. I think it's going to happen. It kind of sucks because Scorpio Sky should have gotten that match, but Ethan Page got that match over Scorpio Sky. So I think Scorpio Sky is going to be the first in line of whoever will be the TNT champion after that match does happen. But going forward, Wardlow beats Nick Comoroto with the Powerbomb Symphony, and Aaron Solo gets a chair shot. And when will Aaron Solo try to go up on the top rope and then gets a chair shot from Shawn Spears? Shawn Spears, was talking about Wardlow, who's like, well, you're the big dog. Why do you have to, do all these power bombs? You just have to just pin him off of doing your one move there.
The thing that I found funny about that whole thing was that Shawn Spears is like, oh, the Powerbomb Symphony, it's not over. Like, nobody likes the Powerbomb. Listen to the crowd.
Yeah, it's definitely over. It's as over as, James Ellsworth was over there in WWE.
It's as over as Rusev Day, man.
Exactly. So it's definitely over.
Remember Rusev Day?
And the question I had is, when is he going to turn? When is he going to turn face and just say enough's enough and beat down on Shawn Spears? Everybody wants to see it.
I think the ultimate payoff to Wardlow like turning heel is at Revolution after he grabs
No,
that
he's going
brass
to turn
ring.
face, not heel. He's already heel,
Oh well,
technically.
okay, yeah. His big face turn is ultimately going to happen. I feel like we're gonna get thrown a curveball. Wardlow wins the Face of the Revolution ladder match, turns on MJF, turns on the entire Pinnacle, and says, "I'm gonna do things my way. I'm going after the TBS Championship, but I am
Yeah,
not giving you an
not
opportunity."
TBS Championship, TNT
Or yes,
Championship.
thank you. I'm going after the TNT Championship, and MJF is not getting his hands on it.
Yeah, I can honestly see that going in that direction. I really do think that he's going to win the Face of the Revolution ladder match because they're kind of building him up to be to that point of winning it. So honestly, it wouldn't shock me. I think you're right. I think that's what's exactly going to happen. But we'll see. Going forward, do we really have to talk much about this? Serena Deep beats Kayla Sparks in her 5-minute rookie challenge. And speaking of it, we actually wanted to point it out. Kayla Sparks actually wrestled for two different companies in the same week.
Well,
She
she didn't
wrestled.
wrestle, but she appeared on SmackDown the same night that she appeared on Rampage.
Yeah,
Now I know that Rampage is filmed after Dynamite live, but they film Rampage directly after Dynamite.
yeah,
I understand that, but to people's point, yes, she did appear in two different companies on the same night.
that's crazy to think about. It really is. But yeah, that's exactly what happened with that. So we kind of wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that if you, it's like, hey, she looks familiar. Well, that's exactly what happened. She did show up on AEW and wrestled against Serena Deeb and lost.
And then
Then
she
she
was
was
part of that Los Lotharios segment on SmackDown.
Vince. Are you that desperate to have AEW talent on your show? That's why you ended up getting her to be there and not wrestle.
Well, hey, who knows? Cody Rhodes could be the next.
There was actually speculation that he could have ended up being on Raw, which I don't think happened
It
because it
did
would have
not
been
happen.
all over social media because he ended up posting on his Instagram some of the lyrics of Turn the Page.
Hmm.
But there's also high speculation that he might end up showing up on a Raw after WrestleMania, which I think makes a little bit more sense. Or he could swerve us all and somehow not show up in WWE at all, which I think is a strong possibility, and somehow maybe make up his own company.
Well, he pretty much already did,
I know in
but
AEW.
who's to say he couldn't go to Control Your Narrative?
Oh yeah, that new promotion with
Yeah.
EC3 and
Which, by the way,
I'm sure which
um,
a TV deal is very imminent, and
yeah,
apparently Eric Bischoff said something about um I don't know, I didn't really read the article, but apparently Eric Bischoff said something about like if he was going to be involved with all that and stuff like that.
I
So
don't know if he should. If any, nothing against Easy E, but I don't think he should get involved. But um, speaking of Control Your Narrative, the first confirmed signing, I guess you could say, is Big Damo,
uh,
formerly known as Killian Dane in NXT.
I hate to say this, why can't I see control your narrative end up leading into the whole thing with being kind of like the new um, ROH in a way. I can
Well,
see this kind of leading into the whole thing of where it's control your narrative, but it's going to somehow be the new ROH,
well,
like or
see,
lead into ROH coming back type of thing. Because
well,
honestly,
ROH is coming back. That's no that's out of like, so because yeah, they're coming back with Supercard of Honor in April, where it's already announced that the Briscoes will be defending their ROH tag team titles against a mystery tag team. Who's to say it couldn't be FTR?
FTR. It could be. It could very well be. Makes the most sense. But
I mean, they teased it already at Final Battle
yeah, so
last year.
I guess we'll get back onto track here. So we get the contract signing between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. Rosa says we need to give the people a better champion. You cheating ass para, which means bitch in America.
Yeah.
She basically called her a cheating ass bitch. I thought it was gonna be a cheating ass whore, but it's a cheating ass bitch. Which honestly, she's not wrong. She kind of has been cheating a lot, but which prompts Britt to say she says she's the reason why Thunder Rosa is relevant. I mean, I guess
she's not entirely
I guess
wrong.
She's not really wrong because she seems to not be able to get Britt Baker's name out of her mouth. Which also prompts Britt Baker says she will not be the wrestler she is and will never be the face of the women's division.
Well,
I don't know about that.
We'll
I really
just have
do
to
think.
wait and see what happens at Revolution, baby.
And then Thunder Rosa jumps at Britt and starts beating her down. And then Jamie Hayter beats down Thunder while Mercedes Martinez beats down Rebel and then starts beating down Jamie with the help of Thunder Rosa through the table.
That's usually what happens during contract signings. A beatdown.
I hate to say it, I think this is going to be a really good match, and it's actually going to count this time. I think you're going to see a new champion. I honestly think we're going to see some new champions being crowned at Revolution, unlike we did at the last pay-per-view there. Full Gear, yes. So I would like to see, different champions being crowned, which I could see happening. I really do think that we're going to see maybe the tag team titles change hands. I think we're going to see the women's world title change hands. TBS championship, no. And it kind of sucks that TNT championship's not going to be defended, even though that's why I think Andrade and Sammy were supposed to compete at Revolution, but they had to throw us a curveball, and have it on Rampage instead a week before. So, that's the main reason why, that had to happen. But hey, I honestly think that Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa are going to bring down the house. So will the dog collar match between CM Punk and MJF, which has a lot of emotions heading to that. Same thing with Chris Jericho and Eddie Kingston. Revolution's got some great matches heading in line. The Tornado Trios tag team match, that kind of feels a little odd, but I still think it's going to be a good match. I think it would be a match you want to kind of start off the night and just go on from there, but that's just me. But going forward, Orange Cassidy beats Anthony Bowens. They compete in the Face of Revolution ladder match. It's nice to see Orange Cassidy there, but fortunately, Orange, you're not going to win it.
Yeah.
Because I think they're still going to go on with the whole best friends versus the Elite, even though the Elite has been crumbling. So
yeah,
it kind of sucks. I was really looking forward to the best friends versus the Elite storyline, but it just seems like it's crumbling down.
Yeah,
and it seems like AEW kind of just gave up on that idea.
Well, hey, let's not fail to mention Danhausen cursed Max Caster.
Yes, he did. He cursed Max Caster, which also kind of cursed Anthony Bowens to lose to Orange Cassidy, because Orange Cassidy gave a very nasty look at Orange Punch to Max Caster.
Yeah,
Man, that was nasty. And then kind of didn't do it as hard to Anthony Bowens, and then got the 1, 2, 3. That's why you're going to see Orange Cassidy in the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Now, it makes you wonder who are the two other men that are going to be in the Face of Revolution ladder match, and who will be that surprise person that's going to be in it. we'll all have to see next week as concludes this episode of No Final Bell. Please make sure down below to follow us on social media at Tinkle Sports. We have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, so please make sure to talk with us. Let us know how we're doing and all the other stuff. Make sure over here to follow that page. It's Tinkle Sports Entertainment. And then over here every Wednesday at 5 p.m. is No Final Bell with Jason and Marty. Also, make sure to watch our other channels as we got Sunday Morning Tinkle with yours truly and also Brian. And then don't forget to also watch Out of Turn 4 with Brian every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Those are the only things that we have going on. We might try to add some other stuff in the future, but time will tell. Again, everybody, see you in the next video.